let's begin from where we stopped earlier. I am Simran, and this is Woof, where every bark tells a story. When we say every bark tells a story, it primarily means that you and I can have the same dog breed. आपके पास भी golden retriever होगा, मेरे पास भी golden retriever होगा. But the journey that as a pet parent I will have and the love that the dog will give me is going to be so unique that all of us, along with dogs at Woof, we celebrate pet parents. We celebrate their journeys and the experiences and the memories that they have with their dogs. So, all of the sessions we do with experts like Aishwarya are mostly aimed towards getting certified and correct information for dog parents. We want their lives to get better, and when they're happier, they'll make their dogs happier. So, this is our effort at Woof to just create a lovely dog loving and a pet parent loving community. So, on behalf of Team Woof, I welcome Dr. Aishwarya Marathe, who has joined us from Mumbai. She is a clinical psychologist. She has done her doctorate in psychology and is a certified animal and nature communicator. It's so interesting, ma'am. Can you please just start by telling us how you got into this?
Yes. Firstly, thank you so much for having me here. It's a wonderful platform. Animal communication, or as we call it as interspecies communication, is a vast field. There are, of course, it's always said that there's never a coincidence of you getting into this field or coming across this concept of animal communication. So even I had my own story of how I got into it. So I have a pet of my own, her name is Millie, and we came across, I was just scrolling through Instagram and I came across this post by an animal communicator saying that you can really talk to your pets and understand what their likes are, what their dislikes are. And I was shocked because this was a very new concept for me at that time. And I couldn't understand it, what exactly it was. I couldn't firstly believe that this was really is possible. But with a very open mind, I decided to go in and experience what coming pets is. And I think that was my most precious experience that I had with my pet. So when we got session with my dog Millie, and the feelings or the details that she gave to the communicator, I think only the family. We were really shocked and taken aback. How does the communicator know so much about the dog? So very minute details were given from her end. Like for example, she also mentioned that I think somebody said can't hear. Am I audible now?
Yeah, you're audible. Is there a reverb? I think it must be because of the thing.
Yeah. So is it better?
Oh yeah, there are thumbs ups now. Yes. Please continue.
So Millie gave us details about. Yeah. So Millie gave us details about how her red colored bed was thrown by us. So during the cleaning process, we had discarded that particular bed, and she had told the communicator that that was my favorite bed and I really want it back. So this was such a specific information, and it was really eye-opening for us. And that's when I got very intrigued of what exactly this concept is, and I decided to read more about it. I went in for courses. I did many courses, and then I got into this communication.
So, first, it is very new. I'm being very honest. It's very new for anybody who learns about animal communication. So, could you first give us the basics of what exactly is animal communication and how is this, like, what is the science or what is the topic behind it?
Perfect. So this is basically telepathic animal communication. So the word telepathy, when we divide it into two words, tele and pathy. So tele is basically long distance. And pathy is feelings, perceptions, or emotions. So when we club the word telepathy, it simply means feeling emotions and every perception from a distance. So communicating from a distance. So it's as simple as a telephone.
Okay.
We are just being a medium between the pet and the humans, where we receive information from one source and give it to another source. So it's just like a relay station.
Okay, and like, what kind of signs? Because this is a very intriguing topic, especially for pet parents. The most common thing is that I wish मैं मेरे डॉग से बात कर पाती. I wish वो मुझे बता दे उसे क्या खाना है, उसे क्या पसंद है, उसे ये पसंद है, नहीं पसंद है. So what are the signs that you get, or like telepathically, what are the signs that you're getting? How does this work?
Correct. So it is basically about we all have five senses, and so do our pets. So as we communicate using all of those five senses, even they use those five senses for communication purpose. So they keep giving information, and we keep receiving the information via all our five senses. So for example, touch, taste, visuals, hearing. So I'll give you a quick example of how it happens. So if a pet wants to tell me that he really loves chicken, so maybe I will get a visual, say, of a chicken bowl, and he'll show me chicken, that I love chicken, and please ask my parents to give me chicken. So I'm just going to receive that visual from the dog and translate it into words.
Okay, so has there ever been that a parent has asked you something that, okay, X question, and the visuals that you're getting are completely opposite and like completely against of what they're asking? Has there ever been any incident like that?
There could be, of course, because a lot of times we as humans assume things that मेरे pet को यही अच्छा लगता है, but there could be other things as well. So the dog might show visuals कि of course I like this, but I also want this, and the visuals of other 10 things.
Okay, and how do you think that, because so many people are unaware, especially when it comes to animal communication, the more I told people about it, as much as there was so much excitement about, wow, this is a concept that is now available, and so for us to get to know more about, this is still a concept that people question a lot. There's more of, यार ये कैसे हो सकता है? How is that possible? So how do you respond to that? The people who are the skeptical ones and the ones who are not so sure about this science.
Honestly, I completely agree that it's going to be. This is a concept which is not so common, firstly, and it's a concept which is not very easily acceptable. So there are a lot of skeptics, but I really welcome them with open arms, because I always believe if the skeptics have come here, it's their pets who brought them here.
Yeah.
So it's not a coincidence again. Again, what I would, I tell people that please come in for the sessions with complete open heart, open mind, and just be ready to receive whatever, your pet wants to tell you. And there are a lot of sessions where the humans or the families are very skeptical about this concept. And when they leave the session, they're like, oh my God, we never believed that this 1 hour is going to really change our understanding about the pets. So,
could you just tell us like the method? How does it start? If I'm a pet parent and I have to contact you, first of all, does there need to be an issue only then I should contact you, or you do normal also telling me about how the dog is, be it something that my dog is not liking but I'm not able to tell those signs? So what are the signs that I should see in my pet first that I should contact a person like you? How does it happen from a pet parent's point of view?
Okay, firstly, I'll start with the first part of their question of the process or the method that we follow. Firstly, there is this skill, as if I have to say, it's a very innate and natural intuitive ability that every one of us have. So it's nothing magical or it's nothing out of the world. So it's very, very natural. It's not a gift at all. So the process per se which we follow is that we are firstly setting an intention that we want to communicate with this particular pet or this particular animal. We trust the animal to and ourselves for the thought transference or the information transference, and start talking with the pets. When it comes to when a pet parent should really contact any animal communicator, there's of course nothing, there are no rules or regulations. They can contact for just general consult, or you know, they just want to talk to their pet. There are no reasons, but they just want to know about what does he like, what does he doesn't like, or what are the things that he's feeling about his life, about the family, and so on. So there's one category where they can just come for general consultations. Secondly, for the pet's health, if the pet is not doing well, or if the humans or the family feel there's something wrong with the pet, he's just feeling low, or he's just sitting in one place. So to explore that aspect further, there's always this modality always helps. And thirdly, for their mental health as well. So what exactly are the fears? What if they have any anxieties? What are the things that will help them to make their life a little more comfortable?
This was going to be my next question, because a lot of the times dogs with signs of anxiety or maybe previous traumas go unnoticed by pet parents, and then they can't figure it out कि कुछ गड़बड़ है, but neither the vet can figure it out. The parents are also very confused, and it's a very helpless situation for both the parties. Even the pet that poor pet is also in a situation where क्या करे, कैसे बोले, किसी को बताए. So have you ever experienced such a situation where a pet parent has come to you and just something of an anxiety or trauma has been a reason? Has there ever been an experience like that?
Yes, a lot of times. This is one area where where I have come across a lot of parents who come to us, especially in the cases where they've rescued dogs or adopted the dogs who were maybe abused or abandoned in their past. So such dogs especially have a lot of traumas, a lot of emotional triggers, a lot of things which the pet parents are really unaware of, or are really confused as to, you know, why is this happening? Why is this particular pet
absolutely
very scared of this particular thing? So there's a lot of confusion on the end of the family also. So what we do in such cases, that we talk to the animals, we try to understand how and what the past was, and what has happened to, you know, to create this trigger in the first place. What was the root cause of it? And then work around those triggers accordingly. So we, as I always say, we don't really work with the anxiety or with the fears directly, but we work around it, so to make the pet's life a little more comfortable and of less anxiety.
Can you share an experience where a pet parent came forward with maybe some question, but it turned out to be something that nobody even thought of, or even you couldn't think of, that this was the reason behind it?
So one experience that I can think of is one family came to me saying that whenever the doorbell rings, my dog really gets anxious and he just wants to, like, you know, hide under the table. And we really know that our pet doesn't like humans or anyone coming to us. And while we were talking to the dog, he said, I of course love humans coming home, or I'm not scared of humans coming home. So there was basically a discrepancy of what the parents were feeling and what the dog was feeling. So we tried to explore it a little more, and that's when we understood from the dog that I'm not scared of the humans coming home. I'm extremely scared of the loud noise of the doorbell. So that was a very small thing, but a very important thing for.
Of course, nobody can even put a finger on and say a doorbell could be a reason. Yeah, of course.
And when I relayed the information to the dog parent, the parent said, of course, we have like a super loud doorbell, and we are going to change it immediately. And within a couple of days, they changed the doorbell, and I think they mellowed down the tone of the bell. And the dog was so welcoming towards the humans whoever were coming in. So there was a complete shift in the dog because the root cause was worked on.
So the signs that you say, the visuals like you say that you get from the dog, is it the same in all breeds, be it a young puppy also, or maybe a senior dog, or is it different according to breed and size and age?
Honestly, with my experience, there's no difference in the communication. There's no difference with what a cat wants to say. The way the cat wants to communicate versus how a dog wants to communicate. They are all beyond their physical self
Form and
physical forms. So it's not really about the breeds. It's more about the personalities, I would say. So they have a lot of distinct personalities. So every animal has a personality of its own, which is very unique, and therefore they have their unique concerns as well. So the way
I think that's why, just for the viewers, I'll inform you. So I asked Aishwarya before that there are a lot of my friends and people who we've told about this session. They want to ask questions. So what is the process? Is there something that they need to do beforehand? So all she asked was that just send me 3-4 pictures of the dog and send me a voice note telling me about the dog's nature. So if he's playful, what is his name, their age, breed, and just what kind of a nature they have. So I think what you're saying, personality is what actually creates a differentiator, is something that gives you the sign and the visuals. So could you give an example of any of the recent cases that you had, any of the recent pet parents or pets that you interacted with?
So basically, before the session, I usually ask for the picture, their age, who are the family members, who does basically the dog or the pet stay with. That's it. So when we start the communication, so what my process is, what I follow is I have a 1-hour video call, Zoom call with the family and the pet. Because I have the picture of the pet prior, I connect with the pet before the session and go in the session with him in sync with my energy, and then we start communicating, talking, and the pet starts giving loads of information from his end of I am this, I am that, I like this, I like that, and so on. What I observe usually is that every dog or every pet is completely different from each other. So there are no two exactly same pets. So they have distinct personalities, and that is the reason their behaviors are also very different. So when they tell me that I really don't wish to go out and socialize with other pets, if a golden retriever, for example, tells us that I'm a very introvert kind of a dog, I do not want to go out, it's sometimes associated with the breed. That golden retriever here, so he is going to be social, or he is going to be super friendly with everyone, but not necessarily. It could be the case that he's a golden retriever, but he has a very introvert personality, loves staying indoors, loves just staying by the
golden retrievers. It's so opposite that they're saying that I don't want to go outside. They're the most playful ones. They're the ones who are even friendly to strangers. So that's a very interesting experience that you share. Yeah, please go on.
Yeah, so one of the this is because it was a recent interaction with a golden retriever that I had, and that's when he said that everybody considers me, because I'm a golden retriever, my the humans who I meet, not my family but others, they just feel that I should be social with everybody, I should just play with everybody, but I do not like that. I just want to be in my own space. I do not like to be disturbed much. I prefer being indoors with my humans. That's it. That is how my day also looks like. So it was very, yeah.
Yeah, I think a session with you then definitely helped, because as a pet parent, you would assume that he would want to go outside. So if I just ask you, what are the most common questions that you get from pet parents? That is the common concern that everyone has.
Correct. So, firstly, a lot of times the cases which I get maximum are for the health, physical health of the pets or the mental health of the pets. So, here we can actually talk a little bit about both of these aspects because, uh, from my experience, they are really, really important. And it's just what I realize is it's just not about the pets, it's also about the family that the pet stays with. So, for example, when the pet parents come for a session for the physical health of the pets, uh, firstly, the pets really understand their own bodies a lot. So, it's not very difficult for them to convey what is happening inside of their body. So they might not know the terminologies of what exactly medically is wrong with their body, but they can give visuals of the things that they feel are happening in the body, which helps us and the humans to take it a little forward and then go in for the medical intervention. So, for example, a dog recently showed me his heart becoming big and growing in size. So that's when the pet parents took the pet to the vet and they did their all the tests and everything, and that's when we understood that the pet had heart enlargement. So the pet might not understand what heart enlargement is, but he will try to explain us in simpler words or what they feel is happening. Once a pet had shown me that the kidneys are shrinking in size, or there are some levels in his blood which are going down. So when we confirmed it with the tests, the medical reports, his creatinine levels had changed, and he had some issue with his kidneys going on. So that really helps the pet parents to understand and take quick action for the pet's health.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think there are a lot of people who've joined and they're writing such lovely comments about the session. I'm so sorry I can't get back. I'm so engrossed in the information that you're giving. It's so grasping that I can't really go on further. But there are so many people who've joined us. I think my questions, they've heard me a lot. Let's take on some questions from the lovely viewers who have joined us. If the pet parents, especially the ones who've sent their pictures, if they would like to start asking the questions, any doubts they have, there's Anjali, there's so many of them who sent their pictures. So you can just keep on asking. Either you can type it on, we'll wait, and then let's start with the Q&A, because that's what I think people are really, really waiting to get a one-on-one with you. That is a golden opportunity that they have. I think once I told everyone that this session is happening, the first person who gave us the picture was Anjali. She is a colleague of mine. She's here. And instantly, I think as soon as there is a question, how to prevent my dog? Okay, I've sent you pictures of Bruno. There's a mother who sent a video also along with it. So she's asking a question, how to prevent my dog from getting ill?
Okay, so firstly here what is important for us to understand is we can't really prevent anything or any illness, but we can of course diagnose it early. Secondly, if the prevention part will come only if the dog tells us that these are the things that if you avoid giving me, it will be better for my health. A very simple example as have acidity. It's a very commonly seen issue in dogs. So the dogs, to prevent acidity, they know what can be done. For example, giving them more of curd or giving more water. So such simple tips and techniques can really help them with their health issues.
Okay. We've received a question. Ojas was the one who sent his pictures for his golden retriever and his pit bull. So he's asking, I just want to know that my pit bull is the one who bullies, who gets bullied, and golden is the one who's very rude. So how do we get that the pit bull is getting bullied and the golden retriever is the dominant one?
I think here the thing that we spoke about, distinct personalities come in the picture, and which is really not something to do with their breeds. So the golden retriever maybe has a personality of a stronger and a bolder personality than the other one. So that's how personality differs and the behaviors.
Doesn't matter what the breed
Yes.
is. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Then there's another question. Our Indy has recently started crying when we all leave for any urgent work. Initially, he used to live alone, but now he doesn't. So somebody or the other person has to stay back for him.
Alright, so firstly, asking him what is exactly making him anxious will help him. A lot of pets tell us that telling them in advance really helps them prepare for the separation better. So, in case if the pet wants to leave their pet home all by themselves, the pet parents can just inform the pet that this is the time that I'll be leaving and coming by this time. So that really helps the pets to just be mentally prepared.
Okay. I think I sent you a voice note of Google and Pixel. She has given an elaborate of how they came into their lives and how lovely the pets have made a change in their lives. So if there's anything from your end, before a question also, if there's anything from your end that the signs that you received, you could tell about Google and Pixel.
Yes. So the minute I connected with Google, I just received a lot of healing energy. So basically, like him being a healer or a therapeutic dog. So the one who will really help the people around or the pets around to just calm down their energies.
Okay.
So that is one thing, and he comes across as a gentleman. So.
Oh, how nice. How lovely. And yeah. And what about Pixel? Anything that you could pick up?
Yes, he just kept showing me a lot of food. So maybe he loves food. He loves experimenting with food. He doesn't like to stick with routine of food. So new things, new food, new ingredients. He's a complete explorer, and I think he's just like the bang opposite of Google.
Okay. Oh, that's so lovely. Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Anything that you could pick up about maybe their, like you said about personality, their habits, something that they can improve or something they like to do more that can be done by the parents?
I think both of them would like to go on separate walks. So that will really help, because I think Google, being a very calm dog, will love his own space and will love his own time. Okay. So taking them one-on-one will really be helpful for their mental health.
Okay, so I'm sure Google and Pixel's pet parents are definitely watching. I hope this answer was helpful. Anything you want to ask, please write on in the comment section. We'll get back to Google and Pixel's story again. We have Anjali's question. I just wanted to know who is the favorite person in our house. She sent a picture and view of her dog Tuffy. So if there's anything that you could...
Yes, so when I connected with Tuffy, he's extremely close to Anjali. He's very, very, very attached, and doesn't like if she interacts with anyone else. So that's the attachment that Tuffy has.
Wow. Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. Okay. And anything else, something that can be done more, something that is maybe bothering him, anything?
So Tuffy is somebody who would love to spend maximum time with quality time, I would say, with Anjali, and maybe talking to him would really help, because he also showed me her telling him stories. So that will be a beautiful experience for Tuffy. And
that's so beautiful.
Yeah, and he's, I think, used to talking and listening to things. So he can't bear separation, and for which he would really like Anjali to talk to him, to tell him if she's going out of the room or if she's leaving for work or anything, just to tell him and keep him informed.
Oh my, okay, I hope Anjali, your queries and your doubts about who is the most favorite person was answered. If there's anything else, you can keep on asking. I have another question from Bruno's mom. How long should my dog exercise in a day? Did you get? I sent you Bruno's also. Did you get any signs? Anything you'd like to say about Bruno?
The golden retriever, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So I think Bruno is a very super happy and a very content dog. So he's just going to go with the flow of his parents and energies. He loves exploring things. He loves going out, exploring the outdoors. He loves to eat a lot. So one thing that he mentioned that he would like to go and eat his meal outside, out in the outdoors. So maybe his parents can try that out with him. For him, the more walks, the better it will be for him, because he's a very enthusiastic dog and super smart with cues. So he's very good at picking cues up. So the more he's taken for walks, the more he's going to explore and love the nature. So there's no specific timing as per se that only 1 hour should be enough for him. It's open.
Oh, that's so lovely. Oh my goodness, the questions are just coming in. I had sent you a picture of another Bruno who is from Dr. Sajal. I'm regularly feeding 2-3 indies at my place. I'm going to leave this place soon and these indies are very attached to me. What should I do to comfort them at the time of this separation?
Alright, so what he can do is actually, again, as I said, talk to them, prepare them well in advance, because they need time to take in the information, digest the information, and just be prepared for it. So that can be one thing. And secondly, you can actually have some other family also involved, so as to make that journey when he leaves a little easy when it comes to food or having people around.
Okay. And he was the one who sent his pictures of Bruno, who's the dog who's passed away.
Right.
So he wanted to ask that, okay, just as simple as that, is he happy? Like, if you can disconnect and if you got any signs about how is he?
So when I connected with Bruno, he just showed me a very happy energy and him just, walking and jumping like a deer. So he seems to be anyway a very naughty guy. And he continues having that authentic self which he had. So he's very happy and a content soul.
Oh wow! Oh lovely! And again, Bruno's mother, the golden retriever one, saying, "Can you tell me something about Bruno's personality?"
Bruno, the golden retriever again, because there are two that we're talking about. So his personality is very goofy, very naughty, and he loves to pull pranks. He loves to be like the entertainer for the family. He loves to make everybody laugh, smile. He's just very, very intelligent dog. So whatever the family talks to him, he's very receptive towards them. So he's going to understand each and every word. So he's not very easy to fool. So
okay. I'm sure as a pet parent to know so much about your pet when you're so just waiting, could bowl those so that we can understand you more. It must be so sweet to hear all of these things. We have another question coming up from Mr. Manish Chandra. He says, hi, I had one concern that earlier we were living in joint family and we had a pet, German Shepherd. Later, my brother shifted to a new house. Now my pet is a bit depressed. What should we do?
Alright, so in such cases, firstly, again, telling him what the situation is really helps. Getting them on a video call or, connecting them in some way will really help them. That is one thing. For again, to understand the situation better, we can actually talk to the dog and understand what are the other ways also that will help him to deal with this separation.
Okay. Roshan Kumar is asking us, how does a pet cope with the transition and changes in life, like moving to a new home? I think it's very similar to what Manish sir also asked. moving to a new home or arrival of a new family member, how does a pet, do you get any signs that the pet is not comfortable? How does a pet cope with it?
A lot of times this is also again depends on the personality of the pet. So for the pets whose personality is extremely outgoing, or they have a nature of exploring, for them transition to a new place or to a new family member is pretty easy, as compared to the ones who are a little reserved. So for them it might become a little bit of a issue for settling in. So again, usually ask the dog that what are the things which will make you feel more comfortable.
Okay. I think Sajal asked about his deceased dog. I just want to know how do you connect with a dog that is no longer with us? So like you said with Google Meet, what is your process there when you're talking to a dog?
So honestly, it's nothing different from the ones who are in the physical body, or it's nothing different. It's exactly how we connect to the ones who are still here. So the process remains exactly the same. The pets keep on giving us information and we just receive it. For them, the physical body is just a costume.
Okay.
So it's no different. And after passing away, it is very helpful to connect with the pets for the family, because they have a lot of emotions which go on inside. They firstly, after connecting with the pets, they get a good closure, which is very important in such difficult times. If at all they have any heavy emotions like guilt, so we can really discuss that with the pet and come down to some solution, or just listen to what the pet has to say about it. Because a lot of times we as humans just assume things कि मैंने ये किया नहीं है, so now I'm feeling guilty. But maybe the pet was anyway happy, or still doesn't really care कि if you've done this. He's all beyond that. He has unconditional love and acceptance towards his parents. So these little things might not even matter. So connecting with them really gives the family a good closure which is needed, and it just gives inner peace.
Lucky is also asking, I sent a pic of my dog Pihu. Just wanted to ask, was she happy with us?
Yes, the little pup, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So correct. Yeah, she was extremely happy. She is a very loving and a caring dog. So maybe she still thinks of this, thinks of her and the family, but a very content soul.
Okay. Is there anything else about her personality or her nature? Anything that you'd like to? Any signs you got?
Yeah. So even she seems to be a very naughty girl, but a very understanding girl. So if she showed me chewing on footwear, furniture, etc. So, but her personality is such that if you tell her the reasons of why not to do these things, she is very receptive to it. So she'll understand and she'll not repeat it.
Okay, I hope Lucky your question was answered. Anjali has another question. If there is anything that Tuffy is missing in the house, why is he so afraid to stay alone at home?
Firstly, Tuffy says that he like to have something going on in the house, like a soft music. So if that is basically played in the house, maybe Tuffy will just feel that there's something going on, there's some movement in the house.
Okay, so music, if they'll play, it will be helpful for him.
Yes.
Okay. Is that also that somebody else, like maybe Bruno's mom or Google and Pixel's mother, they can also try it, or is it just specifically what Tuffy gave you a sign?
Tuffy definitely gave me a specific sign for the music, but of course music is healing in itself, so all the pet parents can try that.
Okay. We have Shivangi who's asking, what are the general thoughts that goes inside a pet's mind when he's nearing his end?
It's definitely a beautiful question and very important one, because from my experience, the pet's thoughts that the pet has in mind is very different from that of humans. The pets, as I said, is innately aware and very conscious of his what is going on inside of his body and energies around. So maybe he's very much prepared for what is coming next. What happens is he's more concerned about the family, of how they are going to deal after he passes away. So maybe he takes the time to prep the family. He shows those signs to them so that the parents are well prepared.
Are they scared? Is there any amount, like any emotion which is very, very dominant other than care for the family? Is there anything else that goes on in their head?
From my experience, the pets that I have interacted with when they're nearing death are really not scared per se. So they're not scared, and they're open to these experiences as well. Here I would like to discuss just two cases. A very profound case that I experienced, that I came across. One of the dogs was nearing his departure, and the dog, he wouldn't leave the lap of the human. He was just with the human, and the human could feel that he wants something, because he was not having water, he was not having food, he was just rejecting everything that was given to him. When we asked the dog, well, what exactly are you trying to tell us? So what do you want in this stage? He simply said that I need some honey. 2 drops of honey would be fine. So it was really confusing at that time, that a dog who is not even open for water and food, why would he
ask for honey? Yeah.
But no questions asked, the humans immediately went on to try honey, and surprisingly the dog had honey and then transitioned.
Okay. Oh my goodness. I think this is where a person like you is so helpful, that you can tell these things about the dog. Yeah, please continue.
And I think it just reduces a lot of pressure from the shoulders of the parents also. And the feeling that we've done something that the dog really wanted helps a lot. One more experience which I had was, this case wasn't from India. So the dog was terminally ill, and he really was in a very bad state. So the doctors, the vets over there, had suggested to put him down. And that's when the pet parents reached out to me, and they were like, what do we do? So when we connected with the dog simply said that just don't do anything. Just take me home. I have 15 to 20 minutes and I want to pass away naturally at home. And so they immediately took the dog home, and once they reached, the dog was there for 20-25 minutes and very peacefully passed away naturally at home. So the guilt otherwise that the parents would have carried for the rest of their lives wasn't there.
Oh God. Oh my. Let me ask another. Anjali has also asked another question. They're just okay. There's another from Ojas who's asking, how about Jackson? I sent a picture of him. Is he happy with us?
Okay. Jackson, yes, a very happy dog.
He's also Pitbull's picture.
Yeah, Pitbull. Yeah. Being a Pitbull, he's extremely docile as well. So again, incongruence in the breed and the way he is. But yeah, he's very friendly, very happy, and very docile.
Okay. He's asking, is he happy with us? Is there any signs that you got related to that?
He's very happy, honestly. And he showed me a lot of plants also, which are blooming. And that is something which he really likes in the house.
Okay. Wow. So lovely. Okay, I'm just looking at more. Then there's another one. How can one help their pets feel more comfortable or secure at home?
First, See, to understand that, we'll have to connect with the pet on a deeper level, because there could be very little but very important things that the pet wants to tell us. For example, one of the pets recently told us that, I love brushing. Brushing my coat. When the parents brush my coat, I really feel very good about it. However, I'm scared because the bristles of the brush are too hard for me. So if they could just change the softer, so such little things really can help.
Okay. Okay, for that they have to connect and maybe discuss these things with you to actually get these signs out of the dog. One is saying, "Hi, how are you, ma'am? This is Mickey's parent."
Oh, hi, yes, I remember.
Okay, we have a lot of people who are thanking for the work I think that you've done with them. I had shared, Shivang is asking, I had shared a picture of Mashi, my pet Pomeranian. He is very choosy and moody with his food choices. What can I do about that?
Yes, so I think when I connected with Mashi, he instantly said that they keep giving the same food. I mean, there's a routine which is set. So he'll like to explore more and in different places of the house.
Okay. Okay. Wow. That's wonderful. I hope it was helpful. If there are any more questions, please keep them coming. Otherwise, I could just go on, and the process of how Aishwarya does this and how she gets these signs is just, it's an endless thing. I think we'll just take maybe one or two more questions that come along our way, and then I think it would be a lovely, lovely session, and we'll finally wrap it up. So if there's any more questions from our lovely viewers who joined us from the YouTube family and from the Insta Live, if there are any more, you can just ask them. I think one thing that I had in my mind was that because, like you were talking about, a pet gives you closure once they've passed away, and the parent is left with that gaping hole and that loss of their life. What kind of closure, if there's any experience that you can share, that how does it help the pet parent to cope with this loss, going through such a session with you?
So basically, again, as I said, closure is something which is very important for the pet parents and the family to get. A lot of emotions, the heavy emotions that the pet parents are going through, can be dealt with during the session with, of course, the help of the pet. And when the family receives validation from the pet, it's healing in itself. Or when the pet tells us that, mom needs to continue the activity that we both used to do, it's just a validation that she had really stopped doing the activity. So if the pet is telling her, please continue, I would really love to, for you to continue that, that heals some part of us.
I'm sure. This pet loss is just a topic that it's inevitable. Every pet parent has to go through with it. It's just something that we may be prepared, but not so much prepared.
Yes.
So anything that you would like to add on to the people who maybe have joined us as viewers who have gone through this loss in their life? Anything that you would like to say to them?
I think from my experience, what I've realized is when the pet basically really wants you to continue everything that you've been doing. He's just wanting to see your happy face once again, and that's what matters for the pet. So once a pet had told me that, me and mom used to sit on a particular big chair every morning and have a cup of coffee, where my mom used to also give me a piece of biscuit that she ate. And now she's completely stopped doing that, or she's stopped.
Aishwarya, your voice, I can't hear you. Yeah, it's audible now. Yes, please.
Yeah, so that's how I want my mom to continue that, even if I'm not here physically. Still, I'm going to be around her and continue to love and care for her.
Okay. I think there was another picture that was sent of Roger, who's a German Shepherd. Right. So his pet parent, Dr. Divesh, is asking if there's any signs that you got from the picture, any sign, because he is a pet that he lost a few years back. So if there's anything that you could pick up from his pictures.
So one thing I realized, one thing I got from Roger, the German Shepherd, was that he's a very sensitive dog. So he showed me himself to be like a vacuum cleaner. So just sucking in all the stress or everything which is not needed, the negative emotions from his humans. So that was his whole job, to neutralize all the stressful energy.
Okay, wow. That's a great metaphor that you've used. Are any signs that you could pick up, just because we're talking about a journey of pet loss? So he, in his bio also, I think he asked that just what are the signs that you're picking up? Is he happy? If there's anything.
Extremely happy. He's very happy. He was happy when he was here now, and continues to be happy, and a very content soul, and he loved his life to the fullest.
That's lovely. I'm sure, Dr. Divesh, you're watching. I hope it answered your questions. I think this would be a great time to just wrap this session up with a final thought from your end. I hope your experience with Team Woof and with the lovely viewers who joined us on both these platforms, because see, the content is great. Multiple platforms have to be brought up for viewers to join in. So if there is any final thoughts, parting thoughts from your end for the pet parents who are watching you.
Yes, so I would just want to tell everyone, just listen to what your pet is trying to tell us, and not assume anything at all. So just ask and don't assume. That's it. That's like a thing for a happy life, happy, comfortable life.
Oh wow. Listening. Okay, great. Thank you so much. I hope that for all of our viewers and for you also, ma'am, this session was informative and something that gave you more insight of how you can make your dog's life happier. I think that's our main concept and philosophy here at Woof, how to make the dogs and the parents' life happy. So we were in conversation with Dr. Aishwarya Marathe, a canine and nature communicator. Thank you so much, ma'am, for doing this with us, and thank you everyone for joining us. We'll see you. This is me, Simran, in the next episode on Friday on Woof's Love. If you can just say like, share, and subscribe to Woof for our viewers, it would be lovely.
Thank you so much for having me here. It was a great conversation, and I really enjoyed the session thoroughly.
Oh, I'm so great. I'm so grateful to you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot. Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much. Thank you.